Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Osirus, and in today's video I'm going to show you the best methods for shiny hunting all 37 wild zone static alphas in Pokemon Legends Z-A. There are 20 wild zones in total throughout Lumio City. You get access to these wild zones by progressing further into the game until you reach the post game where you've got access to all 20. Within these 20 wild zones, there are a total of 101 static alpha Pokemon that you can go out and hunt. 64 of these are available in Wild Zone 20. The remaining 37 Static Alpha Pokemon are available in the other 19 Wild Zones. And they're the ones we're going to concentrate on today, going through Wild Zones 1 to 19, covering the most efficient and best shiny hunting methods to get all 37 Static Alpha Shinies in your copy of the game. So to kick us off today, we're going to be starting in Wild Zone 1, and the alpha that you can shiny hunt in this area that's available very early on in your playthrough is going to be an Alpha Pidgey. Now you want to come through the Wild Zone and you're going to be heading to the far side of this area. You want to come past these Mareep and through this gated area, and there'll be two boulders here that you're going to have to break, so use Rock Smash or another rock fighting type attack. You're going to come up the ladder and we're going to be coming to the left once we're up on top of this rooftop. And the Alpha Pidgey, oh, we've got a shiny Pidgey. Would you believe it? Okay, that is awesome. So we'll catch you. Can't believe it. Okay, there we go. Nice shiny bonus Pidgey. It's a shame it wasn't the Alpha when we're coming up here. But you want to come up to this far side and the Alpha Pidgey is going to be located here. The first thing we're going to do to set the shiny hunt up is going to come right on top of it, and we're going to drop a pin as close to it as possible. Once you've got that pin on top of it, we're going to be moving away, and we're going to be using the runaway method for this specific hunt. Now, you might be asking me, can we not just use the fast travel method to the research lab? Because we're going to have access to Wild Zone 1. We're going to have access to the research lab very early on, and it's within that 50-meter radius of the Pidgey where it spawns. If we turn around, and yes, we're like 33, 32 meters away from it. So technically, we should be able to just fast travel over and over to this area. And every time we do that, a new Alpha Pidgey should spawn in and we should be able to hunt it that way. Well, that's not right. You're not going to get the shiny Alpha Pidgey using this method because of the elevation. Sometimes if a Pokemon is elevated too high to your fly-in point, it will just not spawn until you get closer to it. So that is the fact for the fast travel method. Don't waste your time shiny hunting the Alpha in this area using that method. You're going to have to use a runaway method for this Pidgey with how it's located in this area. So to do that, you can come up this first ladder, and then we're going to be using this second ladder to the right of us here up onto the second rooftop. And we're not going to be going onto the upper area. We're going to be using this ledge, because going up onto this upper rooftop area, yes, we can go 70 meters back. And then if we come back, the Pidgey isn't going to appear back on the field until we drop down, and then it will appear in. So this is a bit of a clunky method where you're going to be going up the ladder, down the ladder, each and every time to despawn it. But you can just use this ledge, and this is what I did and used successfully to shiny hunt the Pidgey. So all we'd be doing is running back along the ledge, just at 70 plus meters, and then we'll be running back to the edge. And then when we get to the 50-meter mark, you'll see the Pidgey will have spawned in, and you're going to be able to check it and then just repeat this method of going backwards and forwards. So if you've got the shiny charm, this is not going to take as long, but you could get lucky and get it a lot earlier. I did this for a good few hours on my shiny charm copy of the game, and I got it pretty easily just using this method, just running backwards and forwards. And if you have a macro programmable controller, you're going to be able to put in a very simple macro to just run up and down this rooftop area and go backwards and forwards. And each time you do this, you're going to spawn in the Pidgey, check it, and then come back, and then just leave this running if you want, or just do this manually. It's not a really intensive hunt. You just have to be a bit careful that you don't fall off the edge. But this is probably your best and most effective method to shiny hunting the Pidgey. Like I say, I did manage to get it after a few hours. You just need to make sure that you come up close enough to the edge at the end to spawn it in, check it, and then if it's not shiny, you just repeat this process and then do it over until you get yourself shiny Alpha Pidgey. So next up is going to be Wild Zone 2. Now you get access to this Wild Zone pretty early on in your playthrough. There are going to be 2 alphas available in this Wild Zone. To the right, when you come in, you're going to see an Alpha Magikarp, and this is going to be a Pokemon that's available through the day. Now, if you come to this Wild Zone at night, you're going to have access to Alpha Staryu. So at night, you can hunt for the Alpha Staryu. Through the day, you're going to be able to hunt for that Alpha Shiny Magikarp, which is going to be one of the best shinies to get in the game, I think, and a really good one for your playthrough as well, especially if you are early on. This method's very simple, very straightforward. We don't need to spend much time here. This Magikarp and the Staryu are located within that 50-meter radius of this Wild Zone entrance, so all we're going to do is just be fast traveling to the Wild Zone over and over again from the gate. And again, it is going to be one of these hunts where if you have a macro programmable controller, then you're going to be able to set up a quick macro for this Wild Zone and just leave your controller running and fast traveling over to it. Now, if you don't, this is going to be super easy to do manual as well. You can do this 10-15 times and just go into the Wild Zone, check to see if the Magikarp shiny. If it's not, you just continue, and you're going to get a good amount of spillover shinies in this area as well. You're going to have the Bidoof, which is located here. You're going to have Magikarps down in the water, and if it's at night, you'll have the Staryus as well. So a good amount of spillover shinies. This one did not take me long at all. Again, I had the shiny charm, so we've got those improved odds, but getting the shiny Magikarp was easy enough to do, and then obviously catch that, if change it to night, and then hunt at night for that shiny Alpha Staryu, which again is just such a banger shiny as well, using a very low effort shiny hunting method to get both of these. And if you're starting out your playthrough and you want to do a shiny only playthrough or a shiny alpha Pokemon in your team to play through the game, these are going to be some really good options for you to really utilize in that first playthrough of Pokemon Legends Z-A. Next up is going to be Wild Zone 3, probably one of the more common and more well-known shiny hunting spots in the game. But there are 2 alpha Pokemon that are available in this area. There is a shiny Litleo and a shiny Fletchling. And you'll be coming to this tower area here. This is a very AFK-able method, and the Litleo's down at the bottom of this tower and the Fletchling is at the top here. And all you're going to be doing is holding down on your left analog stick. Literally, that is it. And you're going to be despawning everything every time you go up and down these towers. So you're going to be spawning the Fletchling when you come down the stairs, despawning the Litleo when you go up the stairs, and vice versa. And there'll be a 50-meter radius around this tower as well every time that you go up and down the stairs. So you're going to have those spillover shinies of Skidoo. You're going to have other Litleos. You're going to have a bunch of shinies that you're going to be able to get on top of these 2 alphas. And if you've got a band or a hairband or something, I use a hairband here, you can just attach it around the bottom of your controller just to hold that analog stick in place. You don't need a turbo controller or a macro programmable controller to do this hunt. This is going to be one of the easiest alpha hunts, and you're doing 2 in 1 as well for this area. This didn't take me that long to do. The Fletchling appeared pretty early on. The Litleo, on the other hand, did take a little while. This was a few hours, even with the shiny charm, for me to get. So just bear in mind, even though this is a low effort hunt, this might still take a while before the alpha actually spawns using this method. But an easy one to do, especially if you're early on in your playthrough. You're going to be able to stock up on those shiny Pokemon pretty easily with just holding down on one of your analog sticks. Next zone is Wild Zone 4. Now, this one isn't as AFK friendly, and it's not going to be one that you can really fast travel to either. So once you come in this area, the alpha that we're going to... Oh, man. Okay, we've got another shiny here, and it is a Spinarak. We'll grab that when we come in here. Okay, I wonder how many we'll have on just showing you the tutorials. But the alpha in this area is going to be a Spinarak, and it is located on this house area here. So you're going to see a bunch of Spinaraks on the wall. The main one that we're going to be going after targeting is this alpha. So you want to be trying to put a pin down as close to this Spinarak as possible. Again, we're going to be using the distance of the Spinarak to spawn it in and despawn it from the map. So once you've got the pin in the building, what we're going to be doing is running away from this area over 70 meters again. And once we've done that, right to the back wall, that Spinarak will now be despawned. So we're just going to be running backwards and forwards from this corner area. And once you get close enough, you'll see the Spinarak will spawn in. And if you've got good eyes, you're going to be able to see that Spinarak will despawn when you get over that 70-meter mark. So you can barely see it's not there anymore. And then all we're going to be doing is repeating this process. Again, this is going to be a hunt that you can just do over and over again, just manually, or if you've got that macro programmable controller, you can just set that macro away and it's going to run back and forward throughout this wild zone. The problem with doing a fast travel to this area is, if you see, if we go to the wild zone gate, that we're just going to be outside of that 50-meter radius of the zone, so 65, and you've got the restaurant over here, which is again just going to be a little bit too far away from where the Spinnerack spawns in, so you're not going to be able to fast travel and just spawn it in. You can see over 60 meters. And yes, you've got the option where you can fast travel and then you can run into the wild zone, and then you can get within that 50-meter radius and then just fast travel again. The problem with doing this is that a lot of the time there are a lot of Pokemon around this entrance. If you have a bit of bad luck, they aggro you, you're not going to be able to fast travel back. And I just feel like the runaway method that I've just showed you down here, if we go from the house down to this bottom left-hand corner, is just going to get you more spawns in a shorter amount of time. You're just running that 70-meter distance and then running back again. As soon as it shows up on the wall, you can see it. You're just going to turn around and run back and just repeat this over and over again. Now, this one did take me a little while to do, even with the shiny charm, but it was an effective method to do this hunt. Just running backwards and forwards. Once you've put that pin down, you're just running back and forth and you're going to be able to get that Spinnerack. No trouble at all. Next up is one of my favorite wild zones. It is Wild Zone 5. In this wild zone, you're going to get 2 alpha Pokemon here that you can shiny hunt. There is one up the street. It is going to be Bellsprout, and it will be up here and located there. The other one is going to be a Whirlipede. Now, this is located in the back underground area of this wild zone. So you want to come across this field area here. There are going to be some toxic mounds over here, so you're going to need to use a water or a psychic type move to get rid of those. And then we're going to come around to the back area here, and we're going to be taking this tunnel into an opening where a alpha Whirlipede is located, and you can just see it located here. So this is a method I have covered before, but I'll go over it again. We're going to come right up to the Whirlipede and we're going to drop a pin right on top of it once again, so we know the distance or what we're looking at for despawning it and respawning it in on the field, because we can basically use a method here to hit 3 alpha Pokemon all in one go. Now, if you're far enough into your playthrough and you do have access to Wild Zone 16 at this stage, you're going to be able to also hunt for the shiny alpha Ampharos that's right next to the gate for Wild Zone 5. So what the method is going to be doing is basically fast traveling to Wild Zone 5. Once we're at the gate, we're going to be entering the Wild Zone, and then we're going to be running up the street. If you look at the pin that we've got for the Whirlipede, we're going to be within that 50-meter radius of it. We're going to be within the 50-meter radius of the Bellsprout up there as well. And then once we're at this point, we're going to just fast travel back to the Wild Zone entrance again and repeat this process over and over until you get the shinies that you want. Now, this is a really effective method to do. Very quick to do as well, just manually, especially if you're on a Switch 2. Even if you're on a Switch 1, it's not that bad. The transition screens are just a little bit longer. And I normally like to run up to about the middle part of this flat area on the staircase. That's a good gauge to know you're within the 50 meters of the Whirlipede, 50 meters of the Bellsprout, hit by a day-night cycle. And also when you fast travel to the Wild Zone gate, you're going to be within that range of the Alpha Ampharos. So like I say, this is probably one of the most effective, efficient methods to shiny hunting in this game, where you're hitting 3 alphas within a very short amount of time to do it. And if you've got a macro programmable controller, this is going to be an easy macro that you can set up, run through the gate, and then fast travel back to it. You're going to not have to worry about any Pokemon when you're running in here initially aggroing you to stop you fast traveling back. So this is going to be a really easy, repeatable macro, and I'll share the macro that I've used for this specific hunt on the screen now. So if you want to use it with your own 8-bit Do Pro 3 controller or another 8-bit Do controller that you can utilize, you can plug this in and then just leave this running and hopefully get that shiny Alpha Whirlipede very easily, the shiny Alpha Ampharos if you've got access to Zone 16, and then the Alpha shiny Bellsprout that will be up at the top of this avenue over here. So again, this wasn't a hunt that was very difficult for me to do. With that macro that I had, I could just leave this running and I was able to get the shiny alpha Ampharos, the Bellsprout, and the Whirlipede in a very short period of time. And you've also got the chance of some really nice spillover shinies as well, including Brokey that sits up on the top of Wild Zone 16. So if you want to shiny hunt that at the same time, you can get a lot of different shinies in this area from just that method. Next up is going to be Wild Zone 6. Now, there are 3 Static Alpha Pokemon that we can hunt in this area. There is going to be a Pikachu, a Houndoom, and then there is going to be a Binacle. Now, for the Binacle, we're going to start off with that one first. This is pretty easy because all you're going to be doing is fast traveling to Wild Zone 6 gate, and you're just going to repeat this over and over again. The Alpha Binacle that is in this area is located just to the side of this entrance, and down in this courtyard area, you'll see it down here. So we're hitting it within that 50-meter radius of fast traveling to this area. So that's all we're basically going to be doing. If you want that shiny Alpha Binacle, just repeatedly fast traveling over to this area, and that's going to be the most efficient way for you to get the shiny Alpha Binacle. You're also going to get the spillovers of Lopunny and Houndoom in this area. Now, you're not going to be able to do the same for the Houndoom because the Houndoom, unfortunately, is located a little bit deeper into this wild zone, and it is right here. But we do have a fast travel point in the cafe, which is located right here. So it's 42 meters from the cafe. So all you're going to need to do is just fast travel to the cafe over and over again for that shiny Alpha Houndoom, and you're going to get the spillovers of the Houndours as well. And there will be Meditite, I believe, in this area here, but that's all you're going to get spillover shiny. So basically, for the shiny Alpha Houndoom, early on in your playthrough, just fast travel to the cafe over and over again. For the Binacle, you're going to fast travel to the entrance gate. And then for the Pikachu, it's going to be slightly different. Now, there is some misconceptions here about how you can best shiny hunt for the Alpha Shiny Pikachu. Now, the Alpha Pikachu is located up on the top of this cafe area here. So if you come up this area and up this ladder, be able to come up onto the roof, and the Pikachu is going to be located up here. Now, if you fast travel to the cafe, you are not respawning this Pikachu every time you do that. So don't think that you can just fast travel to the cafe and you're going to be able to spawn in or shiny hunt this Alpha Pikachu easy, because when you do this, because of the elevation of this area, that Pikachu is not spawning in. You're going to have to go halfway up the ladder, and when you do that, it will spawn in. So you can use the method if you want. Fly to the cafe, come around here, and then head up the ladder, and halfway up, you'll hear the Pikachu cry. It'll have spawned in, and then all you're going to do is then just fast travel back to the cafe again and repeat this process. Although this feels like pretty clunky and not the best way to do it. Now, you can use the method, I've covered it on the channel before, where you go up to the Pikachu, you knock it out, you wait 5 minutes, save just before it respawns back in, and then you just reset your game every time to get that new spawn in, and you can do a quick shiny hunt that way. The best method, I think, for the shiny Alpha Pikachu is going to be heading towards, I'm going to just fast travel towards this Pokemon Center here, the Juan Pokemon Center. This is where you're going to want to make your way to from the Wild Zone 6. So it would just be literally out from the exit from the cafe and up this street here. Now, from this Pokemon Center, we're going to be coming up these stairs, and we're going to be making our way towards the left, back towards where the Wild Zone is. Coming over here, up these stairs, and then there's going to be just the most perfect area to shiny hunt this Alpha Pikachu. So I'm going to be using these stairs here, and we're going to be coming up and down. And what we can do is just run up and down these stairs, and that is going to be the perfect distance if we drop a pin right in the middle of this rooftop area. That's where the Pikachu is located. And all you're going to be doing is coming 70 meters again, and it will disappear, and you're going to be running back down to the edge, and the Pikachu will reappear. So this is the best and the most consistent method for doing this. Just going to be running backwards and forwards. Every time you do this, you're going to be spawning in a new Pikachu. You're going to be getting a lot of spawns in a very short period of time, and you're going to get that Alpha Shiny Pikachu in no time at all. So most consistent method for doing this, I would say, quickest amount of spawns in the shortest amount of time. You've got the Shiny Charm, of course, this hunt is going to be a lot quicker, but that is how you get all 3 shiny Alpha Pokemon in this area. And you might be thinking, oh, is it difficult to see the shiny Pikachu when it appears? No, you will definitely know it's a darker shade of yellow, So you're going to be able to spot it no trouble at all. And with the DLCs coming up soon, we're going to have the new Mega Raichu forms. It's a great hunt to do prior to those dropping on the 10th of December. Next up, we've got Wild Zone 7, and there is only one alpha in this Wild Zone. It is one of the smaller Wild Zones that we've got access to, but once you come into this area, you can see up on top of the monument here, we're going to have a Fletchinder. Now, if I just drop a pin on this entrance gate, we'll have a good idea of the distance that we can go and what fast traveling to this entrance gate will cover. So you can see right to the center and just beyond is going to be 50 meters. So this pretty much most of the Wild Zone we're going to be able to hunt here. We're going to get the Hippopotas, you're going to get the Vanillite, you're going to get a bunch of other Pokemon, including the Alpha Fletchinder. And you might not need to hunt it here. You're going to have the opportunity to hunt the Alpha Fletchling in Wild Zone 3. But if you want the Fletchinder, then this is going to be an easy hunt for you to do, especially for the Alpha Shiny hunt. And all you're going to be doing is fast traveling to Wild Zone 7 over and over again, because we're in that 50-meter radius of this area. There are benches in this area, so you could potentially set up an AFK hunt for the bench hunt here. But I really don't feel like you need to. You can do this maybe 20-30 times, go and check, see if it's shiny. If it's not, then you just carry on repeating this. Again, if you've got the shiny charm, it's going to be a lot quicker, but it is going to be a very low effort hunt, and just fast traveling in and out of the area is going to be the best way for shiny hunting the shiny Alpha Fletchinder that you can get from this area. Next up, we've got Wild Zone 8, and there are going to be two alphas that appear in this particular Wild Zone. You're going to have the Alpha Camerupt, which appears at the back area, which is all the way over here to the far side of this Wild Zone. And then traveling around the Wild Zone is going to be a Croc, which is here, which is going to be joined by two Sandals as well. And that'll be just going around the Wild Zone and moving all around the outside. So fast traveling to this area is not going to be effective for shiny hunting the Camerupt. You just are not able to have it within that 50-meter radius. So fast traveling over and over again is not going to work. A method you could use is a little bit slower. Is going to be walking into the Wild Zone, walking up to halfway till you've kind of seen the Camerupt, and then fast traveling back to the entrance and then just repeating that process. It's going to be difficult to do in this area though, because you've got a lot of Pokemon that spot you, get aggro very quickly. So this could be a little bit slower to do, but it's definitely an option. There is a better method for doing this though, and you're going to need a bench to do it. So I'll come to your closest bench. There is one right next to Wild Zone 8 that we can actually use. And what we're going to be doing is getting and changing day to night to get a specific Wild Zone right next to Wild Zone 8. And we'll be able to use that Wild Zone as a fast travel point, which actually hits that Camerupt. The battle zone that we're looking for is going to be right above Wild Zone 8. So all you're going to be doing is just cycling through day to night, night to day, until you land on that battle zone. As you can see here, we've got it on our map. And then once you've got that, you can then just fast travel to that area. As you can see, we're going to be within that 50-meter radius of the Camerupt. And it's also going to give us a bit of a closer range to the Croc as well. So the Croc, because it moves around the Wild Zone area, is definitely a harder alpha hunt to do, but it's probably more effectively done with this battle zone rather than fast traveling to the entrance. So once you've got this set up, you just fast travel to this battle zone. You've got until night ticks over today to do this. If it does and you don't get the shiny, then you can just reset on a bench again to get that battle zone right next to Wild Zone 8. This is the one that you're looking for. Once you've got that, just fast travel there and you're going to be able to get the shiny Camerupt in no time at all. The shiny Croc probably will take a little bit longer. It definitely took me a while to get that one, but the spillover shinies from this Wild Zone are going to be incredible as well. You're going to be able to get the Numels, you're going to be able to get Drillbuzz, potentially getting a shiny Gabite as well, which is going to be one of the harder hunts in this game. Matchup as well is going to be something else that you'll be able to get from this area. So the spillovers are going to be great, but getting the shiny Camerupt is not going to be too difficult. You should be able to get that in maybe one night cycle, just fast traveling over, especially if you've got the shiny charm. If you don't have the shiny charm, it might take a couple of times for you to get it. So that's Wild Zone 8. We're going to be moving now on to Wild Zone 9. Now there are 3 static alpha Pokemon in this area. There are going to be Meowstic male, Meowstic female, and there is also going to be Manectric. These are all based up on rooftop area. Now, Manectric is a very easy hunt in general. You want to come into the wild zone here, head down this alleyway, and then there's going to be a ladder that we're going to just head up. And once we're at the top of this ladder, we're going to be making our way across the other side of the rooftop where the static Manectric is located. If you want to come past all of these crystals, and then the Manectric, you can see, is up on this rooftop. This is going to be a really easy hunt for you to do. You're going to just be using the bench method here. You can use the runaway method. It is a little bit quicker. Runaway method is going to be just by dropping a pin onto the top of this Manectric here. So we've got a good idea of the distance. Again, we're going to need to be running away from it, and we're just going to have to move away 70 meters from it. And once you've moved that 70 meters away, it will have despawned, and then you're just going to need to run back up closer to it, and it will respawn again. You just repeat this process over and over, and hopefully you'll get the shiny, no trouble at all. But there is a much lower effort way to do it. It might be a little bit slower than the runaway method, but it is going to be something where you can just utilize these benches right here, and then just change day to night, night to day. By doing this, every time you do it, you're going to have a chance to spawn in the shiny alpha Manectric. That's going to be a guaranteed shiny alpha if you do this method. It is a little bit slower, but it is an AFK method. If you've got a turbo controller, you've got a band that you can just attach to your controller, so it's pressing that down arrow, and then you can just spam the A button, or just set it away to turbo, and it'll just run itself away while you can go and do other things. And then you can come back, and hopefully the alpha will be shiny when you come back to it. Now, this one did take me a while to do, even with the shiny charm. It wasn't easy, but you're going to get a lot of spillover shinies. You're going to get the Carbink here, also down on the side of the building. You're going to be able to find a shiny Mawile down in this area, which is located just down here. So there are going to be a lot of different shinies that you're going to get from just hunting the Manectric. But that's basically the best method for doing it, is using that bench right next door to it, and then just leave it running, and hopefully you'll get that shiny alpha Manectric and no trouble at all. So the next alphas that we're going to be able to hunt here are going to be the alpha Meowstics. Now, you're going to get through the day an alpha female, which is this one right here, and at night you're going to get the male Meowstic. So in this rooftop area, I would suggest coming across here and then dropping a pin on top of it, or as close to it as possible, so you've got a good marker gauge of where it is located. Putting the pin down exactly is going to be hard because you've got this wild zone fly point here, so trying to get it as close to it as possible is going to be a good gauge. So once you've dropped that pin on the Meowstic, then you've got a good measure of the distance that you're going to need to move away from it. Unfortunately, there isn't any benches close by that hit it within that 50-meter radius. There isn't a fast travel point as well that you can use. These alphas are going to be, the only way to despawn and respawn them are going to be using a runaway method. So up on the top of this rooftop area where the Mawiles are located is going to be the rooftop that we're using. See, you can see the Meowstic is located right there. Now, we're going to be running to the back corner area of this location, and by doing that, we're going to be able to despawn it, run up to this ledge again, and you'll see it pop back in. And you're just going to be repeating this method, respawn and despawn method here. Now, this can be a little bit annoying because you're going to be doing this for a while, and you're going to get the Mawiles spawning back in every couple of minutes after you knock them out. So this isn't going to be the most thrilling hunt to do, where you're going to have to be knocking a lot of Mawiles out. But every time these Mawiles spawn back in, you're also going to have the chance of being able to get them as shiny. So there is that opportunity as well. But this is basically all you're going to be doing. Repeating this process during the day will get you eventually a shiny alpha Meowstic female. And if you do this at night, which I feel is probably the harder of the two hunts because you're constantly having to turn it back to night, but you've got a bench up next to that Manectric that we've just covered, you can head up there quickly, change it to night, and then hunt for that shiny male Meowstic in this area. And hopefully by doing this method, it is going to be a proven method that gets you the shiny alpha. It's just going to be a little bit of an annoying one to do. If you've got something like an Excadrill with Earthquake, or a Garchomp with Earthquake, it's going to be great for just getting rid of the Mawile very quickly. Something with single target attacks is probably not going to be the most ideal way. If you can get rid of all the Mawile in one fell swoop, it does make this hunt a little bit more bearable. But this method is generally going to be the best way to go after the shiny Alpha Meowsticks, either female or male, that you need from this area. All right, next door to this wild zone is Wild Zone 10. And in Wild Zone 10, we're going to have 3 static alphas that we can hunt here as well. There's going to be a static alpha Sharpedo, which if you come into this wild zone and we head down around this canal area, the alpha static Sharpedo will be located right here. Then we're going to have an alpha Warthog, which if we come up these stairs, and then we're going to have to come up onto the rooftop area for this one, and it will be located just up here. So there's the alpha Warthog, and then the final one is going to be a alpha Arbok, which is probably going to be the hardest hunt in this entire area. And that is going to be located up on this rooftop over on this upper area here, and you can see it here. Now, I'm going to start with the Arbok in this area because this is definitely the hardest hunt, this whole area. Now, if you get as close to the Arbok as possible and drop a pin down on top of it as close to, it's going to be a hard one to drop a pin on because it's so close again to that fast travel point for Wild Zone 10 where it's located. So you can kind of get a gauge. This is the area where it is. Now, there is a bench here for an AFK method for this Arbok, but I would not recommend doing it. I tried this bench for probably 2 days straight. You can see it's within that distance of 50 meters, so it should technically work, but I've never been able to get the shiny to appear. And the thing is as well, I'll show you for an example. We'll change day to night, and when you come back into the Wild Zone area, it's a little bit like with the Fennekin in Wild Zone 18, where you can't see the Fennekin when you come onto the bench, but you should know that it's there. But I don't know whether because there's a different elevation in this area, but if you look across, you're not going to see the Arbok, but if you come a little bit closer, it will pop onto the field. So you can use this bench method. I would probably suggest it's not the best recommended way to shiny hunt the Arbok. I've had no luck with it. I feel like I wasted a lot of time doing bench resets. You get a lot of the Warthog from these benches here, and also interesting fact, it's probably the best area if you're just wanting a regular shiny Mawile and doing it AFK. Using these benches here will actually spawn in the Mawile at the back of Wild Zone 9, so you can use this bench to shiny hunt the Mawiles. So you will get those shiny, you'll get a bunch of shinies down here as well, but the Arbok never really seemed to shine using that bench. So like I say, I wouldn't recommend that as the way to do it. The best method and the way that I was able to eventually get the shiny Arbok was using a runaway method. So we've got that pin dropped in on the Arbok. We're going to move 70 meters away. We've got no worry about falling off the roof. It's not despawning now because it's aggroed at us. But once it moves back into its regular area, it will despawn, as you can see there. And then you're just going to be running back up onto the rooftop, circling around that 40 meters there. It will spawn back in, and then you're just going to be repeating this method, just running down into this back corner where it despawns, and then just repeating this over and over again. And like I say, this was where I had the most success hunting the Arbok and finally got it to shine. You can, of course, shiny hunt an Alpha Arbok later on in your playthrough in the Lysander Labs, and that might be an easier method for shiny hunting it. Actually, it is definitely the most optimal method in Lysander Labs. So if you want to wait until later on and you've got access to that area in the game, I would suggest shiny hunting it there. But if you're wanting a shiny Arbok as you play through the games, this is going to be the best method for getting yourself one. Now, for the other two alphas in this area, it's going to be pretty easy. It is going to be using this bench up on this rooftop here, located right here in the Wild Zone. And all you're going to be doing is changing day to night, night to day. It is going to be very AFKable as well. But you're going to be hitting the Alpha Warthog and you're going to be hitting the Alpha Sharpedo. And the amount of spillover shinies that you're going to be getting by using this bench is ridiculous. You're going to get the Carvanas, you're going to get Tynamos, which are located just below us, as well as the Bellsprouts. There's a Staryu, there's Slowpoke as well. So there's going to be a huge amount of spillover shinies that you're going to be able to get from just hunting the Alpha Warthog and the Alpha Sharpedo. This one didn't take me that long to get both of these. The Arbok was very stubborn though in this area, and like I say, it is going to be the hardest one. But using this bench is going to be the best method for the Warthog and that shiny Alpha Sharpedo. Next up is Wild Zone 11. So shiny hunting in this area for the alphas. There's going to be a Chloritza, which is basically down in this area of the riverbank. And then there is going to be a Slowbro up on the opposite side. We'll go to the Slowbro in a moment because the Clarissa is probably the more difficult of the two. So what you're going to want to do when you first come in again is just drop a pin. It's going to be out of range of fast traveling to the gate. There aren't any benches in the area that are going to be good enough location to hit that, to recycle, to despawn and respawn it. So once you've dropped a pin on top of it, you want to make your way out the alternative gate, and then we're going to make our way across to this area where there's this staircase just next to the side of the wild zone. And what we're going to be doing is running, again, it's the runaway method is going to be the most effective way to spawn in and despawn this alpha over and over again. This location here is going to be a nice easy way for you to just run up and down the stairs, spin round, it'll spawn in, you just want to run away from it over 70 meters and then back up again. And using this method is going to be probably the most effective way for you to get the shiny Clarissa, which is an absolutely amazing shiny, and getting the alpha as well is really good. The one thing I would say is just keep an eye on the alpha Clarissa, because it does seem to have a few different spawn points. So sometimes it might spawn a bit closer to you, sometimes it might spawn a little bit further away. Just keep an eye on it, because it might mean that you're going to need to change your distance with how far you're running away. It might mean from that initial pin you'll need to go 80 sometimes you'll need to go a little bit less, but just keep an eye on it because it does move around in this river way, where it can be further up, it can be further down. As you can see, it's spawning back in different locations, but just to make you aware that the distances might be different. If you are setting up a macro here to run backwards and forwards, it's not always going to be that consistent. This might have to be a bit more of a manual hunt here rather than just a knot, and you're going to have to make sure that you're getting within that spawn radius as well to bring it back onto the field to check it each and every time. But this one did take me a while to do. It did probably take about 4 or 5 hours of running up and down this area, but it's definitely an effective way to get the shiny Clarissa. And when it finally did pop in, it was definitely worthwhile, because like I say, it is one of the best shinies that we've got available in this game, in my opinion. Now, to hunt for the shiny alpha Slowbro, this one's going to be a much easier hunt. This is just going to be involving a bench, and you're going to be able to get a lot of spillover shinies from it. So from Wild Zone entrance 11, you want to come around to the alternative gate here. Just on the opposite side of this gate, you'll see an alpha Slowbro in the distance there, and this is going to be in range of this bench here, which is going to be probably one of the most low effort alpha hunts that we've got in the game. So you're just going to be using the bench. Again, this is going to be an AFK-able method where you can just do this over and over again. If you've got a macro programmable controller, you can set it up. If you've got a turbo controller, you can just have that analog stick held down and then just have the A button spamming to turn night to day, day to night. And then you're going to be able to hit that alpha Slowbro each and every time that you do this reset. You're also going to get the Slowpoke here. You're going to get Stunfisk down in this bank here, and you're going to get some of the clone shed that are in the water there. Unfortunately, you're just out of range from that Clarissa because it is just outside that 50-meter radius. So you're not going to be able to use the bench for that one. That's why we suggest using the runaway method on the opposite side of the bank. Now, Wild Zone 12 has 2 Static Alpha Pokemon in it. There are going to be Abomasnow and there is going to be Avalugg. Now, when you come into this area, the Abomasnow is going to be located towards this area next to these 2 benches. It's going to be a very easy hunt. Again, you're going to be using the benches in this area. That's going to hit the Abomasnow each and every time that you change day to night, night to day. And the amount of spillover shinies that you're going to be able to get from just using this bench is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to get the Machoke, the Machop in the back. You're going to get the Snover. You're going to get pretty much everything in this area from this one bench. So you can get the Alpha Abomasnow very easy as a shiny. It might just take a little bit longer for you to do because the bench method, it isn't the quickest method to doing this. But if you're persistent using the bench method over and over again, you will hit that shiny Abomasnow eventually. Now, the Avalugg is located in the water area down here and is not as easy to access as the Abomasnow, unfortunately. Now, this is going to be another hunt where we're going to be finding a bench in this area, which actually isn't going to be that difficult, is it? Because there are so many benches here, and we're going to be changing day to night because there is another battle zone that appears right next to this wild zone when you get the right one. So just come to any bench here, turn day to night, and the one that we're looking for is this one right here. And once you do get it on your map, you can use the fast travel to this battle zone entrance, which will hit that Avalugg. So all you're going to be doing for the period of time that you've got while night is in effect is going to be fast traveling to this wild zone over and over again. And each and every time you do that, you're going to be spawning in a new Avalugg, getting a lot very quickly. So if you've got the shiny charm, it's going to be a really effective method to getting this shiny Avalugg. And I did this for one cycle, one night cycle, and I was able to get the Avalugg shiny in this area. So it was a really easy shiny to get. Might not always work out like that, but it is definitely a way for you to be able to get the shiny alphas in this area. Next up, we've got Wild Zone 13. And again, there are 2 static alphas in this area that you can shiny hunt. There is going to be a Trevenant, and that is going to be available only at nighttime. So that is located here. And I'm going to be honest with you, fast traveling to this area alone for this Trevenant is just not going to be effective. I think you're going to have some movement when you're fast traveling. So if we drop a pin exactly where we are and we go right up to the Trevenant, I feel like it's on the cusp. It's on the borderline of that 50-meter radius. Okay, so I feel it's personally just outside of the 50-meter radius, which I think it is, in all honesty. So just fast traveling over and over again, I don't think is going to be the most effective way to shiny hunt this Trevenant, but there is a little bit of movement we can do just to make that really effective. And all we're going to do is just move right to the gate. You're going to be able to see the Trevenant there, and then you're just going to fast travel. You don't need to go through the gate. You just need to move up to the gate. You're going to see the Trevenant pop in, and then you're going to fast travel. I think this step is definitely required to shiny hunt it in this area though. And you can just repeat this over and over. Fast travel to the entrance gate, run up to the gate itself, and then just repeat this process. If you don't do the step to run up to the gate, I think you're not going to be spawning in the Trevenant every time you do this. You just need to make sure tonight, repeat this process. And by doing this over and over again, you are going to be able to eventually get the shiny Alpha Trevenant. And it is a banger shiny. It is one of the best ones. You don't need to come into the zone to do it. Spillover shinies you're going to get the Phantoms. You're going to get, there is Pincers over here as well. And there'll be Scythers over there that you'll be able to potentially hit with this method. So that's the basic, most efficient method that you're going to be using to get shiny Trevenant in this area. Now there is a static alpha Weeping Bell in this area. Now we've already covered a hunt for a shiny alpha Bellsprout, right? And that's in Wild Zone 5. So you might not want to go after an alpha Weeping Bell, but you have the option to do this hunt. Unfortunately, the Weeping Bell will only appear during the day. It will be over here, and it will be over 50 meters away from the entrance gates. So fast traveling is not going to be an option. Now, I would also say, what we'll do to just show you is we'll drop a pin right on top of where this Weeping Bell is. And I've seen some people say that there is a bench close by that you can use. I personally feel I've used this bench a lot. If you come out of the wild zone, we head around the back here, gonna come to this courtyard, and there'll be a ladder that'll take us up onto the roof that can take us closer to the wild zone. I feel personally a little bit like the Trevenant. This bench is just out of range of this Weeping Bell. Now, if you've used this bench and you've got a shiny Weeping Bell, Alpha Weeping Bell from this bench, do let me know down in the comment section below, but I would not recommend it. Although it looks like we're just in range of it, I personally feel we're just out of range with this bench every time you use this. Now, you could use it. It is going to hit the Spritzy over here, so you're going to be able to get an easy shiny Alpha Spritzy with this bench, and you're going to hit the Pincers, which are just down here as well. Pincers are going to be easy to get, but I do feel like you're just going to be out of range of the Weeping Bell, which is not a recommended method for me to tell you to use this bench for this Weeping Bell. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more hands-on. I feel the best method for this is going to be running through the wild zone and then just fast traveling back. You can obviously just run halfway through if you don't get spotted by anything once the Weeping Bell appears, and then just fast travel back to the wild zone entrance and then just repeat this over. Problem with doing this consistently though is there are a lot of Pokemon here that get aggroed very quickly and spot you and mean that you're not going to be able to fast travel back as quick. So running through the entire wild zone means that you do hit everything in the wild zone. You hit all of the Vivians, all of the Pinsir, you're going to hit extra Weeping Bell, you're going to hit the Heracross as well. And then when you come through to the end of the wild zone, you're just going to fast travel back to the entrance gate and just repeat that process. And this is how I eventually got the Alpha Weeping Bell shiny. This one took me about 3 days of hunting just the Weeping Bell and trying all the different methods. The bench was just not successful. Got everything else pretty much shiny in the zone except that Alpha Weeping Bell, and I just couldn't do it. And the only method that I had success with to do it was running through the wild zone and then fast traveling back to the entrance and then just repeating. So we're running in, spawning it in, hope we don't get spotted, and then fast traveling back to the entrance and repeating that. And I did finally get it, which was amazing. So I love shiny Weeping Bell, and it was a great one to get in its alpha. And that's the best method I feel that you can use in your game to get yourself a shiny one. Next up is Wild Zone 14, and there is only one alpha static Pokemon in this area, and that is going to be the Excadrill, which is located when we come into the main courtyard area. There should be that static alpha Excadrill here, and we're going to run up to it again, and we're just going to drop a pin right on top of where it is, and then we're going to get ourselves out of this wild zone because we're going to be using a runaway method, but a really effective one for this area. So once you're out of this wild zone, you're going to want to make your way to the left, and we're going to be making our way down this avenue here and over towards the courtyard and over here, and we should see some scaffolding, and we're going to make our way up onto the roof area. This might be a bit tricky. It might take a little while. There's some tricky parts to this. Just take your time with it. You don't want to have to do it over again. You're going to have to lie down to this area here over these smaller beams, and I'm not the best with these smaller beams. I never really had to worry about them when I first started playing the game. I felt fearless, but now when I'm like on a timer, I feel like I fall off these thinner beams more often than not. And when you're up in the roof area, you want to be making your way across here. There'll be another ladder that we're going to take up onto another upper area, and then one more ladder, and we'll be getting closer to where we're going for this Excadrill. And once you're here, it is a runaway method, but it is a really, really easy one for us to do. And you can see the Excadrill is going to be down that courtyard area there. We're going to be coming across here and then just dropping down onto this area. Now, all we're going to be doing is running across this rooftop area. You can run right to the edge, 70 meters away, and it will despawn. And all we're going to be doing is running back over to this side, and the Excadrill will spawn back in. Now, this might seem really finicky, but you can't be this side of the bird's wings. If you can see the bird down here, don't be on the right of the bird. Don't be on the right bird wing. You want to be on the left of this bird, because then we're in a good proximity to spawn that Excadrill back in. You want to be just moving back and forth, and as soon as we come up to the wall area, you'll see it spawn back in. We move back 70 meters away, and you just continually do this. And this is going to be a really quick way for you to just run backwards and forwards. Really easy way for us to get ourselves that shiny static alpha Excadrill, and you'll be able to spot the shiny no trouble at all from up here. You might think it looks a bit smaller, but when it pops in, you will no doubt see it. And this one did not take me long at all. I definitely got lucky with it, but I feel like the amount of spawns you get in such a short period of time in this one location, and it's located here on your map, just magenta sector 6 on the edge of this building here. The alpha Excadrill is located here, and we're just going to be going backwards and forwards. And once you do get the shiny, you can just head back to the wild zone area, and you'll be able to get yourself that easy static alpha Excadrill, which is one of the coolest shinies, especially with that new mega that it's got available in these games. So hopefully this method works out well for you. But like I say, if you come to this side of the bird, you're not going to get the alpha is not going to spawn in until you come across to this side. This is all I mean, that you're going to just need to make sure that you're on that side of the bird's wing to make sure that you are seeing it, and it is spawning in every single time when you come back and forth in this area. Right, next we got Wild Zone 15, and there are going to be 3 alpha Pokemon in this area. They're all going to be very easy to hunt, and it's all going to be low effort AFK-able, and they're going to be the Gourgeist, the Beedrill, and the Banette. So there's the Gourgeist in the center. You're gonna get the Beedrill here, and the Banette is going to be appearing at night, and all we're going to be doing is using this bench in this wild zone, and you can just sit here, AFK it. Especially if you've got a controller with a turbo button, you're going to just be able to set that away with a band attached around this analog stick, just held down, and you're going to be able to turn day to night, night to day. And every time you do that, you're going to be despawning everything from the field. You're going to have a chance at the Banette at nighttime, the Golgast at nighttime, and then during the day, you're going to have the Beedrill where the Banette would also be. And the other option that you can do is fast travel to the cafe as well in this area. That's the other option that you've got, which is probably going to be a little bit more efficient, although you're going to not be able to hit the Banette and the Beedrill in one kind of method. So there's the cafe here, which you can fast travel to, and every single one of these alphas that's in this area can be hit with this cafe. So they're all within that radius. That is the Cafe Ultimo, and you're just going to be fast traveling to this area over and over again. And you can see if you fast travel here, the Golgeist's in that 50-meter radius. The Beedrill will be as well, and all you need to do is just continually do this. If you want to hit the Banette, just make sure it's nighttime and repeat the same process. You'll be able to hit the Banette and the Golgeist all in one go. Spillover shinies, you're going to get a lot of things from Haunters. You're going to get extra Beedrills. You're going to get the Pumpkaboo. You're going to get the Whirlipede as well. Scolipede is another one. So there's going to be a lot of spillover shinies from these methods, but fast traveling to the cafe is probably going to be your most efficient way to do it. You're just going to have to change day to night for those different specific alphas, and it can be annoying because there are things that will spot you and make it difficult for you to fast travel with. So you're going to have to exit the zone and then fast travel back to the cafe over and over. But it's not too hard. But the bench method is probably going to be the more AFK-able one in this area that hits all three alphas in this area. And they're all really nice shinies as well. So it shouldn't be too difficult, especially in this area. Now, Wild Zone 16 has a shiny Alpha Ampharos. We've covered that already in this guide, but just to go back to it quickly, if you just fast travel to Wild Zone 5, that's going to be the most effective method to shiny hunting this shiny Ampharos. All you're going to be doing is fast traveling back to it, but I would just recommend shiny hunting it at the same time as the Whirlipede. You're also going to be hitting the Froakie again, so it is going to be a nice method for hitting a lot of different spillover shinies as well as that Alpha Ampharos. Wild Zone 17 is going to be a tricky one, not so much for one of the alphas it appears here, which is the Alpha Pyro. But the Alpha Mawile is definitely a little bit tricky. Once you fly to this wild zone, you want to be coming up to this main area, and there are going to be a pack of Pyro, the most aggro Pokemon in this game. But all I would suggest doing is using this bench if you want to shiny hunt for the Alpha Shiny Pyro. Now, it's an interesting hunt because if you use the bench, there are two different spawns. So at night time, you're going to get a different set of Pyro that appear in this area to during the day. So essentially each time that you do this hunt, and there we go, there's a shiny regular Pyro, you're going to have the chance to get at least one of these shinies depending on day or night. And if you change the day to night, it doesn't mean that that Alpha Pyro in the middle will always be shiny because they're two separate spawns. So this is all you're going to do. Use these benches, and you should eventually get yourself an Alpha Shiny Pyro as well as an abundance of just regular Shiny Pyro as well alongside it. The most effective shiny hunting method for the Mawile is going to be firstly getting rid of all the Pyros. So try and remove all these Pyros before you start the shiny hunt, because this is just, it's super annoying having to deal with them. The alphas are going to just attack you even if you're up on the rooftop area. It's going to be very difficult to kind of do anything with these active around this area. So just remove them from the field. Once they are removed, we're going to be in a good spot to start the shiny hunt. I would also probably advise doing this through the day, because you're going to get the Lampents at night, which appear up on this rooftop area, which are a little bit more aggressive than the Klefki that are normally in this area. So doing it at night can be definitely more effective, but you're just going to have to bear in mind that you can maybe have to knock these out a couple of times. But up on this rooftop area here is your Mawile, and the basic method, what I would suggest doing to shiny hunt it, there are ways in which you can do a runaway method, but I honestly feel like knocking it out, getting a timer, and then waiting 5 minutes after this Mawile has been knocked out is going to be probably the best way for you to deal with this Pokemon. So once the Mawile is knocked out, what I'm going to do is start a timer as soon as this Mawile does despawn from the field, and we're going to wait 5 minutes. That's the cooldown time for this Mawile to spawn back in. So I'm just going to park myself over here. There is bushes, so you can kind of stay a little bit hidden. And all we're going to do is wait that 5 minutes. And just before 5 minutes hits, so like 4 minutes and 55 seconds, you want to drop a save. And then if the Mawile doesn't spawn back in, drop another save quickly. And then try and time it so you're dropping a save just before that Mawile spawns in. So what you can do from that point on is just then reset your game after you've spawned it in. It's not a shiny. Reset your game, boot back in. It will spawn straight away back in. Each and every time you do this, you're going to be getting a different Mawile. And then it's going to be a nice, quick, easy hunt where you're able to get quick spawns in a short amount of time. And then hopefully that method is going to be one that you can use to easy success to get the Mawile, rather than have to run on the top of rooftops, jump in between areas to get that 70-meter distance to despawn it, and then run back to respawn it within that 50-meter radius. I feel like this is the most consistent way to shiny hunt the alpha Mawile in this area, and it wasn't too bad a hunt for myself. A couple of hours doing this, I was able to get the shiny pretty quickly. So hopefully that's the case for you. Of course, remember, I do have the shiny charm here, so it might take a little bit longer if you're doing this at those full base odds. Next up is Wild Zone 18, and in this area you're going to be able to find two of the coolest, I think, alpha static Pokemon in the game. You're going to get an alpha static Salamence here in the main area, and then if we come back a little bit and go up this alleyway, you're also going to find an alpha static Lopunny as well. Two brilliant Pokemon, two brilliant shinies, and these are pretty easy to shiny hunt, both of them. So you want to exit the Wild Zone area towards the back, and we're going to be coming up this scaffolding here. We're going to be making our way up onto the rooftop area, and we're going to be using a bench for these two because it's just going to be the most effective and the most efficient way to shiny hunt these Pokemon. Again, it's going to be an AFK-able method, so if you want to just set this away running and then come back to it to check, you're going to be able to get these two shiny alphas no trouble at all. And spillover shinies on top of that, you're going to have the Fennekin on the rooftop area over there. If it's at nighttime, you're going to have the Noibat, Noivern. Up here, you're also through the day going to have an Eevee, which is on the other side of this roof. And then down here, you're going to have all of the Bagon, which are within that 50-meter radius, and the Alpha Salamence. And it's this bench here. This is all we're going to be doing. Using this bench and just spamming it, changing day to night, night to day, over and over again. And then checking the Alpha spawns. The Lopunny is hit using this bench, and the Salamence is hit using this bench. It might take a little while, especially if you're at full odds, but if you're using an AFK method where you're attaching a band to your controller just to hold it down, and then you're using that turbo controller just to set the bench away, it's going to be something that you can just come back to, check occasionally, and hopefully when you do, you get that alpha shiny Salamence, which is that amazing green color, and then the pink alpha shiny Lopunny. And just keep doing this method over and over. If you've got a macro programmable controller, again, this is going to be a macro that you're going to be able to set up for the benches and just set running away. But this is probably the most efficient way to shiny hunt for both of these alphas in this one wild zone consistently. Wild Zone 19, you're going to get two static alpha Pokemon appearing here that you can shiny hunt. You're going to get the static alpha Frofro that will appear on this podium, and then at night you're going to get a static alpha Clefairy that you can shiny hunt as well. The only problem is both of these are pretty dependent on the specific times of day. So in this morning portion of the day, on this podium area here, you're only going to get Drampa appearing for the morning section, which is the first quarter of this timer that you can see just above my head in the top left hand corner. So once that is a quarter finished, that's when the Drampa will disappear, and then a couple of moments after that the Frufro will appear on this podium for the remainder of the afternoon. But when it reaches the last quarter of the day, the Frufro won't appear there, so you're only going to get half of the day where the Frufro actually appears here. So you can see the Drampa's here at the moment, and you can shiny hunt the Drampa in exactly the same way that we're going to be hunting the Frufro and the Clefairy as well. And it is just going to be this method here. So we want to drop a pin on the podium, so we've got a good gauge of the distance that we'll be moving away from it. So it is hard to get the pin exactly in the center or around this area just because of the fast travel point there, but you can get the pin as close to the center as possible is going to make this hunt a little bit easier for kind of gauging distances and things like that. And once you've got the pin there, all we're going to be doing is heading out of the back area of this wild zone, keeping an eye on the pin. And then when we hit 70 meters, we're just going to be turning back around and running back down. Now for the Drampa hunt, I've covered this on the channel before. You need to be coming right down to be able to see it every time, which is a little bit annoying. But for the Frufru and the Clefairy, you don't need to come right down to the entrance gate to see it. But you're going to be using pretty much the same method, running up and down this alleyway here. I feel like it's the most efficient way to do this hunt. Again, if you've got that macro programmable controller, you're going to be able to just set this away, run lengths up and down this corridor of an alleyway, and then hopefully get the shiny of both the Frufru and the Clefairy, no trouble at all. So when it does hit that quarter of the day, the Drampa will disappear, and then for the remainder of the afternoon in the day that you're in, you're going to have access to the Frufru. And then when that finishes, you're going to have to change it to nighttime to get the Clefairy. But you're basically going to be using this method of just running up and down for all of the hunts. So essentially you could just leave this running if you do have that macro programmable controller where you're just doing laps up and down this alleyway over and over and over again. But I wouldn't recommend it for the Clefairy hunt in particular, because the Clefairy hunt, if you do get the shiny Cleffa, Clefairy, or anything like that during the night, don't assume that if it changes to day, you can change it back to night and the shiny will still be there. For some reason, it won't. It doesn't really appear like the shinies are treated the same as in other areas where that shiny's kind of banked, right? Where normally if you get a shiny in an area, if you change day to night cycle or you fast travel away, it's saved in the game's data. With the Clefairy and the Cleffa, and in this area, it doesn't seem to be the case. And I did this with a Cleffa. I had a shiny Cleffa there. I thought I'll just leave it because my target's the Alpha Clefairy. But when I came to cycle day back round to night, that Cleffa was no longer there. So I lost that shiny. So just bear in mind, if a shiny does appear when you're going for it at one time, I'm sure the Frufru, as you can see, has appeared here. The Frufru will be something because there's only one of those at a time. But if the Cleffa or other Clefairy appear alongside the Alpha that you're hunting, just go in and catch it straight away, because if it does tick over to daytime from night and you're hunting that Pokemon, then there is a good chance that you will lose it and you'll not be able to get that back. But just repeating this method, you're going to be able to get both of the shiny Alphas in this area, the shiny Alpha Clefairy and the shiny Alpha Frufru, which are two incredible shinies from this wild zone. And with this method, it might take a long time to do, just to run backwards and forwards, but you're essentially able to hit like 3 Pokemon using this method throughout the daytime. The Drampa in the early morning, Frufru in the afternoon, and then at night you're going to be able to get the Clefairy and there's Cleffa. And finally, although we've covered all 19 wild zones so far, there is wild zone 20 as well. Now we do have a guide on the channel for overloading the central area of this wild zone. Normally when you come to the wild zone here, you're only going to be able to find 2 alphas in the central area, but you can overload these spawns so you can end up with 6 alphas in the center, and you can shiny hunt all of these by just fast traveling and running down to the central area. So you've got all of them shiny at one time. So you can see we've got lots of different Pokemon in here all at once, and they're all shiny. So you can set this up yourself. I will refer to the video down below so you can use that method yourself if you want to set up 6 alphas in the center and then shiny hunt those. But this area is going to house up to 64 different static alpha Pokemon that you'll be able to hunt from this one area. Some of them are going to be repeatable from the wild zones throughout this video that we've already covered, but some of them are going to be very unique and you're not going to be able to get elsewhere. So it's going to be a great spot to hunt these remaining static alpha Pokemon that you couldn't get from the other wild zones in the area. But that is going to be the most efficient ways to hunt all 37 static alpha Pokemon that appear through wild zones 1 to 19 in Pokemon Legends Z-A. So I hope you found today's video helpful. Please consider dropping a like on the video. It does really help out, and do subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our Pokemon content here, Legends Z-A, shiny hunts, and everything in between. Thank you so much for tuning in, friends. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck with your shiny hunts, and let me know if you've done any of the methods that we've covered in today's video and you've had success with them. I'll be rooting for you. Hope you get lucky with them and get those alpha shinies very easily in your game. Have a great rest of your day, friends. I'll see you all in another one very soon. So until then, take care of yourselves and bye-bye.